Good morning and welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. I have everything set up, and just as I hit the play button, so did the ignition on a construction truck just over the way. They're doing some work on sidewalks, so we'll see how noisy it gets. I'm back at house. The cottage season is, it's camp season is over for now. We're going to go back for Labor Day weekend with our daughter. She's coming in from Ottawa, and she wanted to spend some time at the camp, but that's sort of the last hurrah. Then we'll go back for the occasional cleanups, get it ready for the winter and so on. But I think that's generally we are finished with the camp by about September 15th. As I'm editing this, I remembered that I had taken a bunch of footage from the camp that shows the completed building that Steve has made. It's like 90% done, and I know there's a few people who enjoy that, so I'm going to try and put that on to the end. And so if you don't want to watch that part after I've said bye-bye for now, then you can shut off and skip that whole part. If you want to make God Laugh by Bianca Marais, is the author of Hum If You Don't Know the Words. I thought she had a third one going, actually. I should have looked that up first. It's a very good book. I enjoyed it. It's taking place in, I thought there were three, but that's only just the other one. It's taking place in South Africa. It's just as Nelson Mandela is coming out of prison. And we have three completely different females as the protagonists, and one is a young girl who has become pregnant through the process of rape. She's a colored lady, and the child will be colored as well, but mostly the issue is just that she, in her pregnancy, expressed to her mother that she really just didn't want to be pregnant at all, and the mother sees what the journey ahead for this young girl is going to be like if the baby is not sent out for adoption or so on. So mom is falling sick with tuberculosis, and one of her last acts is to take the baby to the home of two women that she used to work for, and these two women are Afrikaans white women. They are in privileged society. They are in the middle, sort of their farm compound is in the middle of another farmer is purchasing up all the adjacent farms, and they're smack in the middle, and they want to turn it into one of those places where tourists can come in and shoot caged animals. So they are not letting their farm go. They're keeping it. So there's all this conflict between the Afrikaans farmers and their racist sub-political groups, and then this baby arrives. And these are the other two protagonists that we encounter. And let me see, there is Delia, who has, it's not explicit, but it sounds like she was a stripper of some sort, or a poser in the nude, or along those lines. Maybe she was even a porn star at a certain point. But she has she's famous for the wrong reasons. And then her other sister, I got that wrong, that wasn't Dahlia. Ruth is the one who had the nightlife, let's say. She's a go-getter. She's really lived a colorful life. She has a bit of a drinking problem, and her life, because of the drinking problem, has kind of imploded on itself. So she's gone back to the family farm, and she didn't want to, but that's sort of where you go when you've got your tail between your legs. Delia is an ex-nun. She'd been excommunicated in her early journey as a nun, and she had become pregnant as a nun, and she has a very interesting story that's being kept very, very secret. Ruth's story is right out there. The Black Lady Zodwa, she is trying to keep it secret, but not terribly successful, and Delia has been very, very successful at keeping her story secret because the church is part of that conspiracy. So we see an excommunicated nun in relationship to her church, and her whole life has been ruined by that experience. And so there are secrets that are told, eventually revealed, and there are crises that have to be gone over, and it's complicated, it's multi-layered. The baby from Zodwa is definitely a pivotal point. The release of Mandela is definitely the part of the landscape, and for those people who are already on the side of anti-apartheid are understanding the nuances of racism. Ruth is not aware, and so she's being educated along the way, and there's just all kinds of very interesting things happening. So yeah, I think it was a very, very good book, and I think I'm going to go get Hum If You Don't Know the Words, but I think I'll do that in the new year, because I looked at my pile of books I have to read for, or would like to read, and it's not getting smaller. Okay, Tony Hillerman, The Dark Wind. I think this is number 7 or something like that in the series that I've been reading. It's a Leaphorn and Chi novel, takes place in the Hopi Navajo nations, and it's just a very, very interesting look at the clash between the Navajo and the Hopi in terms of the land allocations. A section of land that was once belonging to the Hopi are now being given over to the Navajo, and yet there are both sacred sites on for both groups of people are in this area. So just going to wait for the noise to die down. So with both cultures having religious ceremonies happening in this disputed area, there's tension around protecting those sites, and so that's one of the things that is being investigated. But of course there's a very complicated murder, and who committed this. It's involved with drugs, and very, very interesting cultural, as Tony Hillerman does, cultural expose, if you like. Maybe that's the wrong word, but he's exposing us to we are learning. We're not being exposed to. Exposed to used to be kind of an interesting word. Now, now it sounds kind of dirty. But we are encountering a culture and the clashes and seeing a way through them. So I really enjoyed this series. I get one every summer. So, all right, Where the Lilies Bloom. Very, very good. I mentioned it in my earlier vlog, and that this was a movie. This couple of authors, Vera and Bill Cleaver, have written 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, at least 15 other books together as partners, and then Vera Cleaver has written 4 on her own. It's so well written. She's really got a sense of the land that she's describing, and she turns a phrase very, very nicely. Well, okay, while I'm talking, I'll see if I can find a gooder one. We're also being learning about, oh my goodness, what's that word? It's not wildcraft, where things like ginseng and wild carrots and pollen and so forth are part of the medicinal knowledge that the people in the Appalachians are aware of and that they use in their day-to-day healings. And pharmaceutical companies at this time are interested because they're rather rapacious. They start with that. Anyhow, so the kids are without dad. Dad's slowly dying in the book. And finally, Mary Call, the 14-year-old, has been given all kinds of tasks by Dad. They're very difficult tasks. They're something that an adult would have trouble handling. And she, as a 14-year-old, has to do it by herself because her older sister, Devola, who's 18, is considered extremely childlike. Now, as we get to the end of the book, we realize Devola is not quite as inept as Mary Call and her dad assumed. So it's nice that Devola kind of comes into her own at the end. There's a younger brother, Romy, who is sort of, in a way, Mary Call's inner child screaming for rescue. because he wants to know why we have to do it this way, and why does she have to be so mean, and it's making her so ugly. And so he kind of represents the voice that she's recognizing within herself, but is working so hard to suppress in order to meet Dad's expectations. And then there's a very cute little 5-year-old Ermedine, and poor little Ermedine is expected to be very much on the ball as a semi-adult. Like, she's not allowed to cry and stuff, and so Ermedine's always crawling into Devola's lap for comfort, because Mary Call just no sympathy for it. And poor, like, I really felt sympathy for Mary Call, because we see her having to be the pusher and the shover and the cajoler, and then we see her anguish and fatigue and growing illness as just, it's too much. She's slowly collapsing under the burden. And then there's Kaiser, who is the love interest of Devola, but one of Mary Call's jobs is to prevent Kaiser from marrying Devola. So there's a whole story around that that's quite comical, and I remember in the movie that was really quite comical too. And Kaiser has to outsmart Mary Call. He's not the brightest bulb in the drawer, and so he's really got to figure it out. And he thinks he's figured out the way to Mary Call's cooperation by showing up with a radio, he's thinking maybe a refrigerator, things like that. And she's realizing what he's trying to do, so she's manipulating the situation so that she can get more ham or whatever. It's just, okay. All right, so here's a fairly good sentence that I'm just picking at random. Beside an icy waterfall, there was a cave which most surely had harbored a large black animal. It had left behind bits of coarse hair and a strong scent. And then, which is, it's a very good one. Within a dense stand of yellow birch trees, we come upon a timber rattlesnake coiled in a puddle of sunlight. It reared its evil head and sounded its hair-raising warning, and Emmeline screamed, and Romy, who had brought along Roy Luther's gun, blew its head off. Like, wow, I just love that kind of sentence that has so many things going on it. And I mean, in my own writing, I probably turned that into 76 sentences, and she's got it all in a lovely little paragraph. And they're all quite like that. It's just, they're so painterly, painterful, painty, full of paint. And so I really enjoyed this, and that's why I'm going to, as a side project, along with all the others I've said over the year, I'm going to add this author's backlist to my to-do. There are illustrations by Jim Spandler, and I had my finger on one, and now that I'm mentioning his name, I can't find it. Oh yeah, there we go. It's very light. It's very dotty. So yeah, there we go. There's a cow. Kaiser gives them a cow at a certain point, and Romy has decided that the cow can't stay outside. There isn't a barn, so Romy brings it into his bedroom. You can just, yeah, has to take the cow out for a poop. They can't litter train it. It's funny. Okay, that's it for me. I hope the noise in the background wasn't too distracting, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now. I hope all your reading dreams and adventures continue to come true. Bye-bye for now. This little section is for those of you who follow us at the camp. The background noise is Steve working on a section of dock. So this is the piece that he has been working on for so long, and he has worked so hard this summer on it. I really like the blue stain. There'll be a second coat up there just to make it a little bit more prominent. That's the remnants of the first boat that he and Phoebe built. I don't think it can float anymore. Anyways, the stain comes around and hits the Claire story, and there you go. It's very pretty. And back to there. Now what we've ended up doing, this is semi-permanent, I think. We're just giving it a test. This is where the washing station is. As you can see, the bathroom's over there. And the clothing is supposed to go here. We haven't entirely sorted out how much clothing we actually need, how much linens we actually need, because we do go back into town and do laundry. So do we need the whole summer's worth, or do we just need sort of a laundry trip's worth? So that's one of the things we're working our way through. And this, where the white little dish is, it's just a pasta bowl, but we do have a very nice white sink that would fit into that little spot, but we're not 100% sure whether this is the best spot for the bathroom, for the washing station, and also we're not sure whether we're going to drain it out through the building. We're going to use it next summer, see how it goes. I mean, there's just no rush on anything, so if it turns out that having a hole through the wall and out to a gray water collector works, that's great. And if it doesn't, then this also works. I mean, all we have to do, if once we finish brushing our teeth or washing our face or whatever, is we've got a door right here, and we can just pop it out the door. There's lots of duff that it can go into and not attract flies or anything like that. So this section, which was such a mess the last time, is so lovely cleaned up. Isn't that wonderful? So I can't back up any further, but there's the there are the windows edges, and so there's enough space here for putting a double mattress, air mattress, if we wished. Probably go with a single. I think it's only Phoebe who's going to come visit us. And there's great air circulation. That's a screen. That's a screen. This can lift up and become a screen. So there's plenty of good air movement in here. And Steve has stained the walls, washed and stained the walls. And we think what's going to happen is where that long pipe, whatever that cardboard thing is, that's probably where the mast and all the boat things will go in the winter. And we probably will have a shelf along there, and that will just hold a lot of the boating equipment. And underneath, wherever that shelf is, will go whatever we store over the winter, so that it's actually, we have plenty of storage for winter. It's more just moving around in the summer. So as you can see, there's not a ton of stuff to store over the summer, because out back here, we have a storage shed, which is very convenient for doing construction and so on, but all that needs a facelift as well. The clothesline is dying, and there's not it's not the best spot for using as a workstation. And the dead boat, that's where that brass plaque came from. It's called the Consternation. Okay, let's see. Is that it? Is that everything? Oh, well, we have the flooring at home. It's kind of a gray-blue, blue-gray kind of click tiling. It looks so nice when it's finally in here. And Phoebe's coming the Labor Day weekend. She will be the tester-outer of the space. There isn't any lighting in here, so that will be one of the things that we'll get her opinion on, as to, where should we put a light switch. Will we run wires? Should we have a battery in here? Should we have a battery-operated light? We've got a couple of battery-operated lights. And that window, no, those are two spare windows, I think. One of them might go there, and the second one behind it, I'm not 100% sure. And yeah, I think the idea is that when the shelf comes in here, also, it's just from Phoebe's point of view, sleeping on the floor, which is what her only option will be, is, banging her head if she sits up to read. Where should the shelf be, so that doesn't happen? And hanging a light from under the shelf. The other idea we have is that if we get ever to the stage where we can come up a little bit earlier and later in the season, that this could be the kitchen, so that we could have the shelf, instead of acting as storage, would act as a kitchen counter. And I mean, it's a very little kitchen, but that's fine. We only have a Coleman stove and a cooler, so yeah, so we don't have big aspirations, but it's more just if we wanted to spend time up here when it's colder. Although I always ask the question, if it's colder and we're sitting and having a very nice time in front of our wood stove at home, why would we travel up here in order to sit in a small space and stare at each other? So yeah, I mean, so this is where the washing station used to be. So I think we're going to take those 2 shelves out, and I'm not sure whether we'll use those, but Steve managed to get a 2nd shelf in for his books. So we may put in a 3rd shelf for my books, maybe a 4th one, I'm not sure. And over there where all my clothes are currently hanging, oops, sorry, I just tripped over the water dish. Where my clothes are currently hanging, that hook will come off because that really just bumps into the way of the door. You know, you kind of, it's, yeah, you can see that it gets in the way. So that that hook set we don't know where it's going to go. Also, I was just lazy. I didn't use my drawers as efficiently as I could, so I don't even know if we really need it. So yeah, that's sort of the end. Oh, I'm going to take you outside. Right, this is where the old bathhouse used to be. Steve took it down in an afternoon. It was just so marvelous to watch that come down. And I'm just very lazy up here. I was still in my pajamas and was eating toast while he took it all apart. And I said, "Do you need any help?" Having no intention. Anyways, he had it down so lickety-split that I didn't even have my clothes on by the time he was ready. That's the little path around to the back of the building. And so now from the dining tent, I'm backing up without any kind of safety behind me. Whoops, sorry. That is just about the finished building. And I'll give you a better view in a second, but what will happen is you come out that door, step onto the landing, and there will be a step where the blue bench is, and they will look like that. And that will be where we will have the showering option, because where we shower now is there. Unless it's raining, then we shower in the gazebo, and yeah, that's a long story. Anyways, when you sit on the bench and look out towards the road, nobody can see you. It's so great. It's just another thing I'm really excited about. I mean, I can sit here and wash my feet in my bare boobies, and I can wash my hair, and well, I'm still gonna get mosquito bites on my ass, but you know, you can't have everything. And over there you can see back to the gazebo. No obstructions, the barbecue place there, and we think we're gonna put a little clothesline right there, because the one, I told you the one was dying. So just a sec, let me give you a long view. That's the long view. Oh my God, I'm just so thrilled. It's so beautiful. It's so nice. The stain is all fresh on the doors and on the walls, and the roof line is just, oh my God, doesn't that look great? Such great lines he's done. And I'm looking forward to the steps, but you know, like I say, there is no rush. And he's happy just puttering away between the boat and the site and reading, listening to the baseball game and writing. You know, he's a busy guy. So there it is. Now I am going to take you around to the other side. This is the last of the dock section that Steve is working on. Has to move about 3 degrees, he's telling me, a little closer to the bottom left of the camera. And then it ties up to the other pieces, takes us out to the rock. And you can see the ground there is pretty insane. So it's taken us a while to figure out exactly how to tackle it. Over there is the boat launch ramp thing, and that's our next project. Probably Phoebe will have some opinions on it, which will be good. Good to get a 3rd pair of eyes on it. So that lands up to this complicated corner where, I don't know if you can really see that. It's kind of flattens out in the screen. It's really full of roots, and it's about a 10 degree or so slope, which was okay. It's mostly a problem of the roots, which I've tried to fill in with ground chips and so forth. Anyway, so the idea is to try and figure out how to attach the dock, or I don't even know if we really need to attach the dock. We just need to secure the dock, and we need to turn the corner a little more safely, because this is a spot where often one of us twists our ankle. Okay, this is the back. I know there's some architects who watch this. That's the way all the joins come together. and that's the window over top of the back of the toilet for circulation. Downspout leads down to, eventually we'll get a water butt here, but right now it drips off the rock. And a bit of a construction site. And that's the back of the windows that overlook the marsh. I don't have enough room to back up really to give you a good look at it, because we haven't done any site clearing through here, but through there is the marsh, as you can see. All that debris has to come out. And this plywood that I was showing you earlier comes over this in the winter, because we do have duck hunters who decide this is a really great place to hunt. They don't come into the building, thankfully. Anyways, that's the Claire story from the outside. And I think there's a little more detail to go on to these windows. And Bob's your uncle. There'll be some kind of what do you call it, like dory thing, door, like D-O-O-R, that will eventually come in there to, I don't know, I guess Steve, he likes to hang on to his wood. You never know when you can use a good piece of wood. All right, coming back out. Now the only thing that's not beautiful, and that's kind of a design decision on our part, is that this door leads directly into the composting toilet. And it's deliberate on our part. Wasn't so much, it's facing west, which wasn't so great in terms of heat gathering. But the idea is that if you want to use the washroom and you're visiting us and you're in a tent, then you can use this door without having to come through where we're sleeping. Or equally, if it's really wet and raining and you want to run from the gazebo to the washroom, you don't have to go through the bedroom with mucky shoes. And then, of course, the final and main reason is that it's very easy to just step down, and where the bench will eventually be replaced with a more secure bench, this is where the showering will happen. And as you can see from the sunshine, it's a good spot to warm up the water. We don't have running water, we don't have a well, we don't have a cistern, so it's old times. And that's way back to the road, so you can see, it's just, oh my God, I just love this place. I hope you do too. Thanks for joining me.